Good afternoon. Hey, welcome to Do It Yourself Physique. You can check out my blogs or more podcasts at www.diyphysique.com. And today's topic will be on debunking the Biggest Loser. And every time you turn on the TV, there's always a reality show. They're pretty much like the top 10 shows. Most of them are reality shows. And I don't know if I consider the Biggest Loser a reality show, because it's more like a game show than it is a reality show, and it's kind of misleading, and that's the reason why I want to do a podcast on this. And it's in its 13th season. It's a very successful show, very successful franchise. They even got their own line of supplements out. And I hear all these people who are big fans of the show and says it inspires them and motivates them to go to the gym. And I think the show is very misleading because the weight loss techniques are extreme and impossible to replicate in the real world. You'll find that it's not very surprising that most personal trainers dislike that show. Just like most musicians don't like American Idol because it has less to do with talent and more to do with looks. Okay. Here's one of the reasons why I don't like this show. You're throwing people in a controlled environment. Pretty much that's the kicker right there. There's money involved. They're willing to do this if it's going to help them lose weight. Plus you have food that's catered to them like a lab rat. And you have a team of therapists and doctors who are on the spot in case there's an injury. Okay, the audience that watches the show is blinded to these luxuries, so their critical thinking skills fade out. And I guess when you're entertained, your critical thinking is thrown out the window. And that's pretty much the whole point. I don't have a problem with people who are entertained by the show, and that's what you should view it as. But the last thing I wanted to do to my client as a personal trainer is to throw them in a controlled environment, like a guinea pig. So why did they do that? You offered them a lot of money, publicity, and a promise of a new lifestyle. Just like you can make an alcoholic become sober in a controlled environment, and the minute you let him out, it's happy hour somewhere. Or you can make the most violent predator be on his best behavior behind bars, which is a controlled environment, and the minute he's on parole, sooner or later he's committed a crime. It's no wonder that over 90% of the contestants gain the weight back once they are taken out of that environment. The workouts, another thing which I find is misleading, are strenuous for even a triathlete. These 5-hour workouts for 6 days a week is insanity. I mean, you'd have to be unemployed to do that workout. You're thinking 5 hours, 6 days, that's 30 hours a week with only 1 day of rest. So in essence, your body never recovers, which puts your body in total stress, systemic stress. This workout schedule is impossible to replicate on your own because they're not good for you anyways. And of course, you're going to lose the weight, mostly water weight, and you're constantly overtraining, and what you lose is water weight and muscle mass and some fat mass. So what happens is your body will hold on to the body fat because it's a defense mechanism to the stress. And how many people are hospitalized after these workouts? I mean, who knows? It all gets edited and gets pre-packaged to appease their sponsors and the audience. And you get these personal trainers such as Bob Harper or Jillian Michaels who are pretty much bought and paid for, and I mean, their attitude is, yeah, I'm making $1 million. Yeah, go ahead and do your 20,000 sets. And another feature of this show is the sensationalism aspect. The old saying, if you want to get into show business, you got to sensationalize or exaggerate the truth. I mean, this is what makes headlines in the Twitter feed. The numbers are elevated for sensationalism, which equates to higher ratings, especially at the weigh-in segment of the show. Like when you lose 20 pounds, they probably add another 10 pounds for the effect. That's what they're doing it for. They're doing it for the ratings. Seeing someone burst into tears, getting yelled at, or vomiting in the sandpit are also triggers for rating because emotions sell, and that's all they care about. Anybody knows when it comes to weight loss, the scale is the worst indicator of weight loss unless you are planning to be an anorexic. Okay, so if you're planning to lose weight, I usually tell them to put the scale away because the scale doesn't tell you the whole story because water weight fluctuates throughout the day. how your body loses weight is a non-linear dynamic. You can lose weight successively every week, but sooner or later your body will hold on to the weight because it's being stressed. It's a stabilization effect. Cardio can only work up to a point, and fat loss to muscle gain ratio can skew the numbers dramatically. You can lose 0 pounds but lose inches. So as the show progresses down to the final round, the contestants will use extreme measures and sacrifice their health to lose weight, such as eating severely less or purposely dehydrating themselves, because you got $250,000 there for the taking. So it basically comes down to the money rather than a lifestyle change. Because if it just comes down to the money, then you're less likely to do it as a lifestyle. So here's my take on this. The Biggest Loser is basically a game show rather than a reality show meant for entertainment. Don't view this show as a means of inspiration or a blueprint for your own weight loss plan. You can lose the weight without the boot camp mentality or the controlled environment. These marathon workouts are self-destructive, in which it does more harm than good. You can achieve your goals without eyeballing the scale or elevating your own numbers. The biggest winners are basically the networks or the producers of the show, and the biggest losers are the people or the audience that believes that this unbalanced approach is the gospel to losing weight. So if you're planning on a weight loss program, just do the bipolar opposite of the Biggest Loser. No controlled environment, no 30-hour weekly workouts, no extreme dehydration, and no sensationalism. Solution: take your time, push until you can't, rest until you can, and set modest goals and know your limits. And focus on habits, because habits will lead you to the goal. Alright, feel free to email me comments or questions. I'll flash the email on there. And that wraps it up for this podcast. And I hope I didn't offend anybody out there who loves the show. That's just my take, and we all need a realistic approach to weight loss or physique transformation. So that wraps it up. Next episode, stay tuned. And remember that fitness is a journey, not a destination.